Welcome back to Spider-Man Month Part 4. We've taken a look at all of the solo Spider-Man adventures so far. Some of them are good, others not so much. This time around, Spider-Man joins forces with Marvel's main mutants, the X-Men, in Arcade's Revenge. This is the first and only one of these handheld releases that was also released on the 16-bit home consoles, of which only the Super Nintendo version had the rainbow on the cart. The SNES version will have its time in the spotlight eventually, but for now, let's put the focus on the portable port of this Marvel main event. Spider-Man and the X-Men Arcade's Revenge was released in 1993, the same year as Invasion of the Spider Slayers. Perhaps due to this, Arcade's Revenge was not developed by Bits, but Unexpected Development, who according to a Google search, doesn't have the best track record. My spider sense is starting to go off about this. Let's just soldier on and hope my gut instinct is wrong. The first impressions are alright. The characters look a little warped, but I wasn't expecting it to be accurate to the title screen from the console versions. The music by John Luce is decent as well. I mean, anything in comparison to the brilliance of Tim and Jeff Fallon is going to be lackluster. But it does the job. Pressing start brings up the story, which is laid out mostly in text. Definitely a downgrade from the comic book panel style of the consoles, but I guess that was to be expected. Then again, Spider-Man 2 came out earlier and it had panel style cutscenes, but I digress. Regardless, the story is pretty much the same as that featured in the Genesis and Super Nintendo versions. The X-Men have been captured by Arcade, and it's up to the Webhead to free them so they can collectively defeat the sinister villain. Level 1, much like on the consoles, starts with Spider-Man having to disarm several bombs in order to gain access to the abandoned building. No matter which platform you play this on, this level is really tedious. Our friendly neighborhood, you know what, has to be maneuvered up and down, backwards, forwards, and all around in order to find all of the bombs. On the Game Boy, it's especially worse in that the wall crawler moves so damn slow. This can't be blamed on hardware limitations. This is all on Unexpected Development. Parker plods along as if he was wearing cement sneakers on the surface of the moon. This is even more apparent when comparing this to Amazing Spider-Man.
Inconceivable!
The objective of dismantling the bombs is simplified with the help of Pete's spider sense, but the drawback is that it only works when he is within a certain distance from the object. In other words, spider sense or not, get ready to venture around aimlessly for a little while. Anyway, once the task is completed, we get another mostly text cutscene, but this time, something significant is missing. There's absolutely no sound whatsoever for this in the character select screen. This is jarring to me. Admittedly, the console versions just reuse the intro cutscene piece, but at least it's not dead quiet. Way to go, Unexpected Development! At this point, the roster of X-Men characters is now playable, each having their own separate stage. If you've played the Super Nintendo or Genesis versions, you have a general idea of what to expect. Wolverine's takes place in a funhouse, Cyclops braves the mines, Storm is submerged underwater, and Remy LeBeau, aka Gambit, aka my favorite X-Man and one of the best comic book characters of all time, goes head-on against certain danger in the cave. These 8-bit avatars represent the characters well enough, and all of their mutant powers are mostly spot on. Gambit tosses kinetically charged cards, Storm shoots out lightning bolts, and Cyclops has his trusty optic blasts. Wolverine has his adamantium claws, of course, and unlike the SNES or Genesis, they're out right from the get-go. However, they look dinky and about as menacing as butter knives. Another thing, which I could be wrong about, is that Logan's signature healing factor is not present in this version. The long and short of it is that Wolverine, one of the most badass of all mutants in the Marvel Universe, has been basically reduced to the metaphorical equivalent of a neutered puppy. Unexpected development? I'm assuming you went out of business a long time ago, and I can fully understand why. You don't mess with Wolverine. That's rule number 1 in Marvel law, and you shattered it into itty-bitty pieces. Bravo! In their defense, the levels themselves are mostly well designed, and they did a great job of transposing the 16-bit stage layouts onto a less advanced handheld cartridge. Minus the slower overall feel, the graphics are nicely detailed, and the music, while not being fallen brilliant, is still passable. The controls, as with most of the handheld Spider-Man releases, are hit and miss. One improvement is that the button assignment is back to the NES A jumps B attack standard. One major flaw is that, unlike every other title featured so far, there is no double jump, and in a platformer of this nature, a double jump is essential. I could understand if they limited it to certain characters similar to Mario Bros. 2, but not even the spry swinging superhero himself can double jump. That's pretty damn lame. One major change for the worse from the console versions is that there is no option to skip the initial Spider-Man stage after a game over. You have to go through that annoying maze and dismantle the bombs every single time, and more than likely you'll have to do it often, as Arcade's Revenge is hard no matter what platform you play it on. Some may see this as a minor inconvenience, but trust me, unexpected development
Yippee-ki-yay, Mr. Falcon.
up. Plain and simple. Spider-Man and X-Men Arcade's Revenge for Game Boy is obviously much worse than its console siblings, but that doesn't mean it's entirely a bad game. The music is adequate, these beloved Marvel mascots are treated respectfully, for the most part, and the level layouts work well within the context of the hardware. With that said, the controls are buggy, the action is sluggish, and the inability to skip the intro Spider-Man scene is unforgivable. Like with Spider-Man 2, I can only recommend this for hardcore Game Boy collectors, and if you do pick it up, make sure not to pay as much as the poor soul that owned it before me did. If you want to play Arcade's Revenge, ditch the Game Boy and go for the vastly superior Super Nintendo and Genesis versions. Spider-Man month is almost over, but we still have one more video to go. You may be wondering, Matt, you've done all the Game Boy releases, and you're holding off on the rest of the LJN Spider-Man titles. What else is left? Well, my friends, I'm going to keep that a surprise. For now. Find out on the next Cygnus Destroyers Retro Reviews. Or is that innocent until proven guilty? My lips are sealed. See you next time.